What is going on, guys? These are the 9 times customers on Pawnstars were not very satisfied. Remember to subscribe to the channel Film Time, but without further ado, let's dive into number 9.
I don't have anything else.
I would love to have it. I mean, if it's the real deal. 450,000.
Coming up at number 9, we have the book from Isaac Newton's library. Of course, the old man calls in rare books expert Gary, who informs everyone that it is indeed a book from the infamous Thinkers collection. Although the cover had been restored and rebacked, probably done in the 1700s, still Gary places the retail value of the book at $20,000. Amazingly, Bob then accepts the old man's shockingly low offer of $7,000 after being told, "You know, if I give you 7 for it, I won't have money for dinner tonight." Apparently the old man pays over $13,000 for a meal just to put a bow on top of his plainly awful deal. It turns out much of the rest of Newton's book collection has either been destroyed or archived at Trinity College. Now at number 8, we have 1890s Colt 45 Peacemaker revolver. In the season 4 episode Peacemaker, Rick buys this Colt 45 revolver, which he says sells better than just about any antique gun I carry. Rick's excitement is palpable, especially after the seller Brian foolishly reveals he purchased it for $25. They eventually agree on a price of $3,000. Upon inspection of the revolver, weapons expert Sean tells Rick that the gun is worth at least $5,000 in its current condition. Coming up at number 7, we have Hotchkiss Cannon. Field artillery collector Chuck rode his 1890 Hotchkiss Cannon into the parking lot of Gold and Silver Pawn, aiming to land a deal. Things were looking up when Rick asked his weapon expert, "What can I pay for it and still make a few bucks?" To which he replied, "I would say $40,000 all day long." Of course, Chuck is pleased, but then he immediately commits the fatal flaw of any negotiation, which is to reveal his bottom line number before the haggling even begins. "I expected about $30,000, Chuck says, instantly elevating himself of a potential $10,000. Next up, we have the 1984 Chris Craft boat. In a very early episode of Pawn Stars, Corey takes a supposedly huge gamble on buying a 1984 Chris Craft boat for $16,500 before having an expert look it over. As has become the regular stick of the show, Rick and the old man hem and haw at how much Corey spent on such a risky purchase, until it's later revealed that with just $4,000 of restoration work, the boat has been restored to an approximate retail value of $30,000. That just made it even more awkward for the seller, Dino. Coming up at number 5, we have the 1962 Lincoln Continental. In another season 1 episode, Rick and the old man make a steal of a deal on a restored 1962 Lincoln Continental. The seller, Devin, says he did most of the engine work himself, but he's put enough time and money into it that he's ready to let it go. He says he wants to get $13,000 to $14,000, but the classic beauty has a seriously neglected interior, so Devin eventually parts away with it just for $9,500 when he could have got at least $14K for it. Coming up at number 4, we have the Yatsuga Samurai Sword. In what is probably the most egregious example of the guys knowingly underpaying for an item, Corey slashed through a negotiation on a 15th century samurai sword that could potentially net the shop over $10,000. The seller, David, claimed to be a lawyer who'd kept the sword after a client used it as collateral, then failed to return to claim it. Just before the haggling started, Corey admitted via backroom confessional that he'd seen a few of these sell for thousands of dollars, which is why he'd opened an offer of $800 was laughably shady. The seller, woefully underprepared for the negotiation, said, "When he offered me $800, I wanted to jump and do a dance, but I had to keep my cool because the price was still going up." They agreed on $1,500, and an expert later determined it to be worth around $5,000 to $6,000. So the seller could have got $6,000 if he kept on going, but no, he didn't. He agreed on $1,500 instead. Coming up at number 3, we have the autographed screenplay for The Godfather. This one falls into the category of an almost rip-off, since the seller Deanne didn't part with her item, a copy of The Godfather screenplay signed by Al, but were including it here because of what a bad offer it really was. After Rick's handwriting expert John verifies that Deanne's leather-bound screenplay is indeed signed by Al Pacino, Rick offers Diane $500 for it, partially based on John's suggestion that it would probably only bring in $1,000 at auction. Coming up at number 2, we have baseball signed by the 1951 New York Yankees. Another near miss for a would-be cheated customer came when the old man threw a screwball of an offer at seller Clint, who showed up with a baseball signed by 1951 World Series champion New York Yankees. Clint had already pitched $3,000 as his initial asking price, to which the old man, presumably sensing the stinker he was about to send back, said, "I'm gonna shoot you a price. If you don't like it, don't hit me, but I'd be a buyer at about $800. Clint respectfully declined and went on his way, and it's a good thing he did. Now guys, finally coming up at number 1. This one time when this one customer used Chumley's limited knowledge in the music industries against him. When Chumley was the only porn star in the store, one guy came to the store with a musical instrument Chumley knew nothing about. The musical instrument was only worth a fraction of what he was selling it for. However, Chumley did not know this until it ended up buying the instrument, after it became clear that Chumley was deliberately scammed, as one customer was banned from the pawn shop and it was never served by them ever again. Now guys, if you did enjoy the video, make sure you do subscribe to the channel, Film Time. But without further ado, make sure you guys stay safe, stay well, and I'll see you guys in the next video.